Got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio 103.9 LP FM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're recording this on Sunday morning, November 21st. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. I'm Larry Rhodes, or Doubter 5, and as usual, we have our co-host on the line. Hello, Wombat.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
Hey, our guests today are George Brown, the second and a half, Dread Pirate Higgs. Hello.
Hi there.
All the way from England, the John Roberts. Hello.
Richards.
Sorry. There's some post-editing right there. Digital Freethought Radio Hour is a talk radio show about atheism, free thought, rational thought, humanism, and the sciences. And conversely, we'll also talk about religion, religious faiths, gods, holy books, and superstition.
Nice.
And if you think you're the only non-believer in town, you're just not. In Knoxville, we have a group of over 1,000 of us. And we'll tell you more about that after the mid-show break. Wombat, where do we want to go with our topic today?
We're going to be talking about birthrights. And who else to lead us better in that than John Richards? But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the topic, we're going to throw it up to our own Dread Pirate Higgs for our weekly invocation.
Our noodly lord who art in the colander, al dente be thy noodles, thy blood be rum, thy sauce be yum with meat, as it is with vegetables. Give us this day our daily garlic bread, and forgive us our cussing, as we put up with those who cuss against us. And lead us not into ketoism, but deliver us some carbs. For thine are the noodles, and the sauces, and the grog, whenever and ever.
Ramen. You know, there's few foods in my head that hit all the food, the pyramid food. So you got your grains, you got your carbs, right? With the grains, you got the tomatoes, which are your fruits, you got the veggies, which go into spice the sauce. You got the water, you got the sweet, you got the savory, you got the sour. It's all there in one pot. We should have seen it from the beginning.
And
clearly,
the meat, the protein in the meatballs.
Oh, the protein in the meat. It's all there. The
all there.
gloriness is like, oh, it must have been by design. Has to have been by design.
Indeed.
Guys, I want to do a quick little catch up. How you guys been since last week? We'll throw up Dread. What have you been up to? How's your projects and chaos been going?
Well, I don't know if you've heard, I know John Richards, and thank you for your concern. I've been watching what's going on in British Columbia, but we had a atmospheric river, which led to some substantial torrential rains, which has washed out most or some sections, important sections of our roadway infrastructure.
Wow.
There is no way for me to get down to the coast to work. Kind of buggered unless I can be considered an essential service. And security in some of these communities is certainly going to be that way. So I may get some work pretty quick, but people are in absolute panic mode. Grocery stores like in Grand Forks, where we get our food actually from Alberta, they're picked clean because people are panicked.
Wow.
Because the roads to the coast are cut off, but our food supply isn't because it's coming from the other direction.
Got it.
Nevertheless, people have just got it in their heads that they've got to stock up on bananas and walking through the grocery stores, it's really surprising to see what sort of items are actually the ones that are gone. Like bananas.
Yeah,
there's lots of oranges and apples and plums and pears and all that kind of stuff around, but the bananas are gone. I think people have gone bananas.
It's when people go bananas, they have to go and get bananas.
Well, we are apes.
There you go. yeah.
There's some validity there.
Yeah. So it's been a bit rough, and there is still, of course, no real word on how long it's going to take to reestablish those lines of transport in some meaningful and substantial way. So
if I recall correctly, we're about 1 year away from the first COVID rush on grocery stores. Is that accurate? Was it around this time last year that people were starting to like rush out and get the toilet paper? Like, wasn't that crazy phase?
But this is worse.
Oh man, for real.
This is worse.
Wow. Wow.
And down on the coast there, it was verified that the first tornado was seen in 50 years to touch down on the west coast. So we're in, and we have another atmospheric river coming here next week.
And that's the complex, the dramatic heat wave that you just had this summer as well, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's really starting to manifest here in BC significantly. So
yeah.
I've
always said we have, obviously we have a climate problem, obviously, but I also think that it's a overpopulation problem too. Like there's a lot of people just doing a little bit of that thermostat click up, a little bit too many styrofoam cups in the ocean, just enough. You get a couple more billions of them, it's going to add up. We're going to have an effect.
Agenda 21.
We got to figure that out. Yeah, Agenda 21. Who knows? We're going to throw it up to our own Larry Rhodes. How you been, my friend?
Doing well. Just keeping on. I'm not writing anymore. Of course, the weather is kind of put the kibosh on that.
Sure.
I am working full time.
Ooh.
I haven't done that in, a year and a half.
So you're waking up in the morning and just
going to work. Going to my desk.
Okay.
Yeah, I work at home. And it's a data analyst job, helping financial institutions meet their federal compliance issues. So it's interesting work. Okay,
cool. Not bad. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Pirate.
There's a truth to the idea of running a business and knowing your numbers and being a pirate. You have to have a money guy. You can't just be people in a bout. Like that costs money, guys.
We'll keep a spot for you on the ship.
Yeah. If you ever take over another ship and one guy's like, "Hey, I'm an accountant," it's like, keep that guy, keep this guy. We need accountants. George Brown, second and a half. How you been?
Well, I'm dealing with some health issues right now, and fighting insurance company. So I'll let you know next week how it all came out. But how the fight came out. But the issue is right this moment. The particular issue is whether I'm covered for transportation or not. So whether I'm covered depends upon which agent I speak with at United Healthcare in the Philippines.
And then it differs every single time. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody I talk with is either in the Philippines or in Colombia. And sometimes they're here in the United States. But I never know who I'm going to get on the phone.
Not to get on a short little soapbox here, but it's not that American healthcare is terrible. It's that we don't want to make it better, or like there's a vested effort on a political level to keep it the way it is, because that costs the least amount of money. And that's the attitude that keeps everything so archaic and terrible and like privatized. And it really sucks. I wanted to get some cholesterol pills. I got another physical coming up, and doctor gave me a prescription, went to the place, and it was like $200. I'm just like, what? I'm insured. I had a really good job. Why is like a small thing of pills like over $200? Found out there's an app that I can get that like reduces the cost of it down to like $15. But I'm like, why is this the reality that we're living in, where we need to get coupons and apps and like talk to people to get the codes? I'm just so upset about it.
May I interject on that?
Yeah, go for it.
The difference is so stark from when I was a child. When I was a child, if a prescription cost more than 35 cents, my mother had a fit.
Wow.
Well, hey, George, I mean, weren't barbers still taking out teeth and acting as doctors?
And laudanum, the thing to go to.
Yeah.
My old Sicilian barber, he was an old man at the time. He still had clients that he went to. He got on the subway and go halfway across Brooklyn and do some cupping.
Yeah. No, thank you. Right. I've seen those bruises. Even in the laboratory, I see them.
Yeah, he never talked to me about leeches,
Yeah.
Same
but
thing.
He still did cupping. Yeah.
We have... So, go for it, John.
We could derail the whole show topic by starting on this area.
Sure. Trust me, we are slowly transitioning to you. We're getting to it.
You said you keep your existing system because it's the cheapest, and you saw me shaking my head. It's not the cheapest.
No, it's not the cheapest.
No.
We pay for it in other ways.
Exactly.
Change costs money. That's the philosophy.
Yeah, but the cheapest form of health delivery is a welfare state, because the power of buying for the whole population crushes down the cost. And the other thing is, the welfare state doesn't have an interest in making a profit. There's nothing for it to spend it on. But when you buy private health insurance, they want to become rich.
I hear you.
Sure, but the middleman, they're going to want their money.
Of course.
Yeah, changes cost money. If it was easy as being like, hey guys, here's the balance sheet, less money, more money, welfare state, let's go for it. If it was that easy and people saw it, that'd be good. But like, change is an investment that is insurmountable to an extent, at least in a privatized, semi-democratic institution that we're in right now.
It's a cultural change. That's the problem you have.
Oh, culturally, I want this so bad. But yeah, it's I wish there was one word to explain it. Come down to Tennessee. We'll walk it. We'll inundate you with our own pessimism. But one thing at a time, I would say this. I have people in our laboratory who do have cupping bruises on them on a regular basis. And I found that to be really bizarre, because I would expect these guys to be, stalwarts of science and like not pseudoscience, right? Yeah. And they know engineering and they know science, and yet they have these giant bruises, and I ask them why. And they'll be like, oh, well, it's cultural, right? Like I'm like, sometimes they're from, other places like in China or stuff like that. And they'll have these bruises, and that's just how culturally they resolve it. And I ask them, does that actually make you feel better? Like, what's the science behind it? And they're like, well, it's just the thing that I was doing since I was brought up that way. And I thought that is an interesting concept, because even though they were born in a world where they have an appreciation for science and they move their way towards it because of their culture, because of where they were born geographically, they have all these, residual, not particularly scientific beliefs on how to make themselves better. And I found like, how great would it be if they were able to just, not have that? It seems like a zero-sum game.
To stick with their birthright.
To stick with their birthright of not having to deal with tainted ideologies.
That's a segue.
Impressions of segue.
Thank you for the segue, Dred.
John Richards, what's up?
Well, Dred's just given us a segue to the topic.
If you didn't see how hard I was working for that, and you're just going to give all the progress.
I just took the opportunity to fill that in.
You stole.
We're going to go back to the hand raising system, so that way I get all the credit for things. So that's how you're going to go about it. But go for it, John.
You stole his punchline, Dred.
I did.
Before I
shamelessly.
Before I talk about the topic, I just want to say I'm glad you're okay, Dred, because we've been getting horrifying news about what's been going on in BC. And my next week's guest on my Freethought Hour show is in BC. It's a lady called Janice Selby, and who I must get in touch with to ascertain that she's okay.
Cool.
Anyway, birthright. Yeah. Well, this cropped up in my head because we've noticed that religious people always want to get the next generation when they're young. I mean, what are they? It's not the Jehovah's Witnesses, but there's a group of Roman Catholics that said, give me a boy by the age of 7 and I'll show you the man. Who was that? That was one of the sects of the Roman Catholic faith.
Jesuits?
Yeah, the Jesuits, I think it was. Yeah, that's right. So there is this impetus to get hold of people when they're very young. And I wondered, what's going on there? Because it's not just Christianity. It's Islam, and it's pretty much any religion you think of, Mormonism. They all want to get their children when they're young and start indoctrinating them or inducting them, whichever. I don't know which you prefer. Inducting sounds a bit less hurtful, but it's the youth that's important. And here in the UK, our new, well, he's not new, our Archbishop of Canterbury and his new Bishop of York have got this strategy they've devised to try and get through our schools, because they're losing their congregations. They're all old people who are dying, and they need to invigorate the youth, to evangelize, to get more members of the Church of England, which has never been an evangelizing church previously. It didn't need to be, because it already had all the positions of privilege. It conducted the coronations, it ran schools, it's got bishops in the government. So there was no need for them to be very active. And of course, by not being very active, they didn't change. Modern churches came in, grabbed the youngsters, and now the old church is dying off. So they've got this initiative to try and infiltrate into our schools more heavily and into our colleges, and to grab the young. So what's going on there? It occurred to me that it must be a bit like we start out with a clean sheet as far as religion is concerned.
The Thomas Hobbes approach, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it reminded me of a song in one of the Gilbert and Sullivan comedy operas, which it refers not to religion, but to, because that was very improper to refer to when they were writing, but it refers to politics, because they were very political commentary people. And they talk about, I can't remember the lyrics, maybe we should put it in the details underneath, but they talk about everybody being born either a little liberal or a little conservative. Every child that's born alive, there's some scansion and rhyme in there, And George is looking it up for us. And
I'm not looking it up. I'm trying to see the text on the screen.
Oh, okay, sorry. Anyway, there's obviously a need to grab people almost as soon as they're born. So I made this video, and it goes on the presumption that we're born atheists. And
why is that a presumption, if you don't mind me asking? Like, isn't that the default? Isn't that the true default? Like, if atheism is just a lack of belief in a God, like, isn't it absolutely true that every single person is born that way?
I think
Larry,
so.
what do you think?
Well, I think that how can you believe in a God if you don't have a concept of what a God might be?
So you don't believe in him?
No,
yeah.
It's a lack of a belief. It's just like
it's a lack of
other
belief.
atheists, right?
Exactly. And that's the key point when I talk to a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not an atheist, I just don't believe in God. It's like, that's what an atheist is, guy. Let's talk about it. But John, sorry for interrupting you.
You got it. Well, no, that was all good interruption. So I think this is maybe an opportunity to show the little video. Is that possible?
Sure, go on ahead.
When we are born, we don't even have language, so we can't possibly have a religion. Labeling babies with a faith is like claiming that kittens are born Christian. All religions have to be taught by means of words, and it's a case of who gets to us first. This is why religions spread out from a center like bacterial colonies. They do that by marketing seductive stories that claim to answer all the mysteries that worry us. In return for this alleged peace of mind, they expect payment and submission. There's always been some doubters, but in their desire to control everyone, theists have victimized and even killed opponents. Still, today, it may not be safe to come out as an atheist in the parts of the world where a religion holds power, because believers have painted us as worse than criminals. Let's normalize atheism. It's our birthright.
That was just such a great little video. I love it. As a trailer.
Your volume yourself is high.
Okay, so I'm going to reduce my volume.
Okay.
All right, how's this? Is this good?
Still
Talking.
Still
Yes,
strong.
sir.
Reducing it. Hey, what's up, guys? Oh, yeah, I see myself way high.
Okay.
Talking. How's it?
There you go. That's
Better?
better.
Fine.
Good.
Dred, go for it.
I was just going to say that the one term that John used was spreading like bacterial colonies, and I thought a better word than colonies would be cultures, spreading like bacterial cultures, right?
Yeah.
Because it
true.
is a culture, you know, and it
Different
ties those two
definition
things
of the
together.
word, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, good video.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to have umbrage with the bacteria concept. It's like, yeah, we can compare the religious people to bacteria, but we got to make sure the scientific nomenclature is accurate. If anything, it's just like that's funny. Though, I thought it was a powerful video. I think it does hit on the key point that I've always been saying is that we are born atheists, and if I'm not given that in a conversation with a religious person, then there's a misunderstanding on what they think an atheist is, of which I am happy to explain to them. But once we understand we're in agreement that you're born atheist, then everything else, stacks up towards, then why do you believe in a thing you can't prove scientifically, can't demonstrate, can't reliably test? Why? Because the default position is not believing that, right? And that doesn't mean that you're against it. It just means that you lack a belief in it because you're waiting to be convinced of an argument. Larry, what's up?
Well, there was another point he made toward the end of the video was let's normalize atheism.
Yeah.
And we've got to do that. And the way to do it is for atheists to come out of the atheist closet. Now, there are good ways and bad ways to do that. And you can do some internet searches to find out the best way. Don't make it a big announcement, but just work it into the conversation if it comes up.
Sure.
But still, we need to come out and represent.
Yeah. And don't be ashamed of it either. Because if you treat it like a thing that
I'm
you're
proud
ashamed
of it.
about,
Very proud of it.
that just leaves more weight to it. Just casually say it. If someone's like, hey, if someone says, everyone says bless you, it's like, yeah, I'm an atheist, and even I say bless you. It's not a big deal. And it doesn't even have to be the topic of the conversation. The sentence, it's just you let people know, you moved on to the next thing, and next time someone says atheists are bad, it's like, no, Tyrone's one. He just said he was at lunch yesterday. I know you're lying to me.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Also, that's
right.
Maybe that's the other thing. You got to be a good guy. If you're a jerk, don't come out as an atheist.
Don't give us a bad name.
Yeah,
right.
keep letting people assume you're religious. I'll throw that out. Though, George Brown, you have an interesting thing because you're an organic atheist and you've never felt, I don't know if you felt the need to come out. What was your, or let people know that you're an atheist? What's your situation on that?
Well, it depends where I am, who is around me. Are they capable of tolerating an atheist?
Sure.
It's at that point because I live out in the boonies.
Right.
Almost the boonies. Let me say the semi-boonies of Tennessee.
Okay.
I mean,
It's
this
strange.
is an urban spot.
Because hopefully there's an age where you can feel like, this is where I'm at, deal with it. Like, I feel like you're
I'm there.
Yeah.
But I've been there for 50
I'm
years.
there.
20 years.
Yeah, last week I told this little story about bumping into a man in the supermarket. If you'd like, I'll tell it again. Want me to?
Is it the one where you get upset at him?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, go.
I was okay. I'll tell it again. I was walking in the supermarket. Now, we have a vaccination rate of 34% in my county, and we're losing people at a rate of about 1 every 2 days. I'm talking about dead bodies here to COVID. And people are still refusing to wear masks and they're still refusing to get vaccinated. So for me, I want the freedom to be able to go shopping in a store and get my food without having to play viral Russian roulette when I go shopping.
Right.
And I think the old people in general get it because almost all the old people I ever see are wearing masks. They're accepting it as this is what we do.
Yeah.
Generations below that, it's a pig in a poke.
Oh, in the
So
store.
I was, yeah. And so I was walking around the expensive supermarket, appreciating the people who were wearing masks and feeling good about them when an old man came walking toward me who was not wearing a mask, but I was still feeling pretty good about people. So I smiled at him, and he stopped, and we looked at each other, and he said, "Where do you go to church?" And I said, I don't do that. I said, "I don't go to church." He said, "Well, you should." I said, "No, I shouldn't." He said, why not?" I said, "Because I don't believe in God." Well, that was the end of the conversation. He
I imagine.
continued pushing his cart.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
I
that's
was
one way to do
surprised at myself.
For standing up?
Words just flew up.
Good.
What's that?
Good. And
The words just flew out of my mouth without any censorship. It's
but
the
with
first
no
time
anger.
I've done that here.
Yeah. And
Good
it's just
job.
part of the
Yeah.
conversation.
Just part of the conversation. It's
You
just
didn't
like, hey,
walk up to him and say, "I'm an atheist." You
Right.
know?
Right.
You didn't push it in his face
You just
like
like,
he
hey,
did
I'm wearing.
yours.
It's just like, hey, I'm wearing a red shirt. You should wear a blue shirt. I'm all about blue shirts. I wear
Yeah.
red shirts. See ya. That's it. It's as simple as that. I think it's important
Yeah.
to let, as Larry said, people know that you're an atheist.
Right.
But I mean,
John.
I could get a posse coming over to my house with guns here.
No, you're fine. John Richards, what's up? What's up?
Well, the culture in the USA is very different from here. And you tend to be taught religion, Christianity. The Baptist Christian religion is the most common one, I believe, at the same time as you're taught language. So as you grow up, you look back at yourself developing, and it seems to be endemic, as much a part of you as being able to speak.
Sure. I'm not aware of how it is in England. Isn't it that way in England, or is it completely different?
Well, it depends where you are in England.
Okay.
We're very much a multicultural country now, but in what you might call the indigenous population, religion has pretty much died out. Very few English people, maybe more Welsh, maybe more Scottish, but very few English people are regular churchgoers. And when I was brought up, I wasn't taken to church. None of my uncles or aunts or anybody in my family spoke a word about church. We only went when there was a wedding, and we went for the party.
Okay.
You know? But so the thing is, in America, you're raised in a religion. So you think that's the normal condition, many of you, and therefore you have to escape from it.
Right.
So being an atheist in America means a different thing. It means somebody who used to be religious, not somebody who was just born.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's why it's so hard to get rid of it in our own psyche. We're taught it with our language.
Yeah.
There's even after we lose the religion part of it, it still stays part of our psyche for a long time.
Yes.
And that's why there are groups called what?
Freedom from religion.
Freedom. Not only that, but leaving religion.
And Atheist Society in Knoxville. They'll all help you break out of your religious beliefs. And speaking of breaks, Larry.
We need to take one. That's right.
Nice.
This is the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. We're on WOZO Radio, 103.9 LPFM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to the second half of the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. I'm Doubter 5, and we're on WOZO Radio, 103.9 LPFM here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Let's take a moment to talk about the Atheist Society of Knoxville. ASK was founded in 2002. We're in our 19th year. ASK has over 1,000 members and have weekly in-person meetings in Knoxville's Old City at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria every Tuesday evening around 5:30, and we go to about 8 o'clock. Look for us out on the patio. If you'd like to join our Tuesday evening Zoom meeting, like if you don't live in Knoxville or just don't like going out, you can email us at askanatheist@knoxvilleatheists.org or let'schatsE@gmail.com. You can also find Digital Freethought on Facebook, Meetup, or at knoxvilleatheist.org. Or you can just Google Knoxville Atheists to find the group. It's just that simple. By the way, if you don't live in Knoxville, you should still go to Meetup and do a search for an atheist group in your town. Don't find one?
Start one.
Right. Wombat, where do we want to pick up?
So we actually got some listener feedback on a previous episode. I'm going to throw this one out to DTR, Data's Trading Room, who asked on the episode of, why is there underwear if the universe is finely tuned? He says, well, didn't God create underwear? And
vicariously.
Yeah. There's a wink and a nod in there, but we appreciate those comments. Thank you very much. Also, I want to talk a little bit about bubbles, because it seems like we're talking about being born in a religious bubble and the bubble.
Information bubble.
Right. There's also information bubbles, Larry. We can get into cultural all those bubbles. Cultural bubbles. Absolutely. There's even bigotry bubbles that you could just be born into, not even realize, why do I dislike this? I didn't even know I was disliking it. I'm just basically explaining or parroting what's been as part of my nurturing process. And I've never really given an opportunity to critically think about any of these things that I purport or explain or believe in. Yeah. And that tends to be the case with everything that we're in. So don't think that you're outside of all the bubbles looking objectively at reality. We are subject to them. What's important is that we know where they are and if they're harmful, because why be needlessly harmful, right? And maybe that's a chance to step out. So for me, I know I'm in a food bubble, for example. When I was being raised, we didn't have like grocery stores in our neighborhood, like how there were in other neighborhoods. And so like the closest place we can get food was like at, gas stations or like very, very small markets where they didn't necessarily have the best foods or the healthiest options for people who were growing up. So we had a lot of sodas, like high carb packets of ramen and stuff like that, salty foods, chips, stuff like that. And as kids, you can burn through that. But if you're an adult and you're in that little bubble, you don't have opportunities to find places where you can get food because you don't realize that that's an option for you. You're in a bubble, right? Mm-hmm. In this exact same sense where those people who live in those areas have like really high blood pressure or really bad health. And it's because they don't regularly have access to the places that are in other neighborhoods. You can be in a bubble in such a fashion. Larry was talking about an information bubble, and you're the data analyst. You want to talk about that? Because I think that's a good point.
Well, I mean, if you're raised in a church and your entire family is in the church and the only people you ever see are in the church, then you never hear, well, at least when I was growing up, opinions from outside that church.
Right.
So you don't know that they actually exist. Nowadays, most everybody can get to the internet and find out other opinions about all of these religious beliefs. And that's one of the reasons that religion is in such a decline right now. But there are also other kinds of information bubbles, not just religion. Go ahead.
And I think that's also a reason why a lot of religions hate quick changes in technology, and they tend to be almost Luddite in their approach towards new connections and new approaches to stuff like that. But I was
their
saying,
book is 2,000 years old.
Sure. Dread. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say also, for instance, in my case, it was the more I studied religion that I realized that it wasn't a viable option for, discerning reality. So
sure.
It's keeping people ignorant, I think in a large respect of even their own religions that helps maintain the stupor.
And what's more ignorant than like a child, which is why I feel like religion targets those. But John, Richard. Well,
exactly. Dredd has hit the nail on the head. That's more of a no information bubble. We're not going we're not going to permit you to be educated because then you will be out of our control. And the worst religion for that is fundamentalist Islam, which the policy is not to teach girls anything.
Right.
And we all know that the way to get a good democratic equal society is to empower women.
Right. Yeah. Power everybody that makes up your democracy. Larry, you're on mute, my friend.
There's also disinformation bubbles when you're raised in what do you call them? Theories.
Republican conventions.
Basically? Fox News theories.
Sure, yeah.
Disinformation theories.
Tucker.
The cable news. Oh, it's not just that guy, but it's the whole channel. But all right. Hey, I want to throw this out because that's in a less extreme sense. Say, hey, I'm listening to these guys. They're saying information bubble, but I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch any of the cable news. I'm out of it. It's like if you go to Google and you type in the word Apple and you hit search, you might get Apple the fruit if you're like a kid, or if you're like, a person that likes food. If Google's figured out through your use of cookies that you're a chef, they'll show you a whole bunch of apples. But if you're like a young adult male who's like investing or something like that, or like a businesswoman, you're going to click an apple and they're going to show you the stocks. They're not going to show you a picture of an apple because Google will change what it thinks you want to see based on your search history. Mm-hmm. So when you go to do research, like when I hear a lot of people say, well, I do my own research on the internet. It's like you have no idea how subject you are to the bias of your own past, because the internet doesn't care about telling you true things. It cares about showing you things that it can make ads off of. So and you're just as subject to poor research practices as you are to advertisements and marketing. And you need to be aware of that as well.
Yeah, all the algorithms do is reinforce our biases. But I wanted to pick up on your use of the word Apple as an example, because if it had been searched for back in the 1960s, when, before...
Did the internet exist back then? What are you trying to do? You're pulling a paradox against each other.
Yes, that's the point. You couldn't back then. But if you could, you wouldn't have got Apple, the computer makers. You would have got Apple Corps, which was the Beatles record company.
Oh, interesting. Very cool.
And Apple, the computer maker, had to fight the Beatles to get permission to use that name. There was a big case, and the Beatles got a payout because. So,
while we're on fun little tangents, I would say if I'm in the 1960s and I have the internet, the first thing I'm going to say is, "Where's my time machine?" That's what I'm going to be searching. Yes. First thing, Dredd. It seemed like you wanted to weigh in. Did I catch you right?
No.
Okay, cool. So I'm saying, hey, you could be in an information bubble that's pure and that is through the use of all the tools that you do have. And I feel like you should just be aware that even when you're on the internet and you're doing your own research, there's an agenda to not try to change your mind, to make you look at commercials and ads and be happy so that you keep going back to those websites to see those same commercials and ads. It's not about challenging yourself. And that's why the value in my head of a university experience, or at least of a distinct, this is how you do research. It's not fun. It's meant to be through a very systematic approach where you can be critiqued at every level. And even when you have a conclusion, that can be critiqued by your peers. That is a great way to know the best way how to know things. And maybe not the best conclusions, but you can at least have a conclusion that you can work with a lot of other people and optimize it towards a more objective truth. And that's very, very valuable. You don't get that on the internet. So universities are important. And religion, last part of my soapbox, I feel like the religious conservative point of view is that you don't need school. You shouldn't have to do it. The only need is one book, and that's the Bible, and that's it. But it's such a dismissive point because it's through school that you understand critical thought and that you are able to free yourself out of these dogmatic points of views and treat people with more care and understand that welfare states are actually really useful in a lot of senses and improve society overall. It has so many great repercussions. I'm sorry for that small tangent. George Brown, second and a half. You said I saw your hand up. Are you still moving? Nope, he's frozen.
Got a couple,
there he is.
Couple of observations. Excuse me, couple of observations, reflections about bubbles.
Okay.
For a long time, I realized that living very close to Berkeley in California was giving me a perspective that was false. The whole United States is not like Berkeley,
Yep.
But from where I was located, it seemed that way.
Right.
So that's observation number one. Number two is that I'm, of course, living out in the country now, and it's very much of a monoculture. There are other kinds of people where I live. There are some Muslims. There are the horse and buggy Mennonites. There's a whole bunch of them. Mm-hmm. And there are, let me think, there's some Jewish food in two of the supermarkets here. And that's puzzling me because the only synagogues
Jewish person you know
here are
is you.
ones.
It's not a Jewish aisle at the supermarket.
They're
It's a George Brown aisle at the supermarket. They make it just for you so you can get
George
back.
Brown. Well,
Yeah.
The Jews around here are fake Jews. They're evangelicals pretending to be Jews. You know, the name of their church is Yeshua. My God, you know.
That's kind of crazy.
So, however, what I want to mention is, you know, thinking about the cities, the urban areas, they thrive in my mind in diversity, and because of their diversity, I think people tend to be more open, more inquisitive, and so people are rubbing shoulders against each other every single day.
Especially the college towns.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Like
That's
Knoxville.
another value of it. Knoxville, absolutely, which is not representative of all of Tennessee, which is also going to what George says. Like, if you're raised in Knoxville, you think, oh, Tennessee is amazing. We got pride parades. They got educated people running back.
Atheist
scholars
groups.
visited, atheist groups. Everything's great here. And then you go 20 minutes out of Knoxville. You're like, hey, oh, geez. I'm going to turn right back here. There's like tumbleweeds. Flag bumper stickers on them. That's crazy. Okay, getting out. John Richards, what's up?
So travel is good for you, basically.
Yes.
But here's the thought. Here's the thought. Why has Mennonite cuisine never caught on?
Oh, is this a pun? I don't know. Tell me. Why hasn't it caught on?
I don't know. What do they eat? Do they have any?
I don't know.
I thought you were making a joke.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the punchline.
Right here.
My wife's a Mennonite, and it's caught on here.
Really?
No, really.
Well, that's why I gained so much weight, because it's really good stuff.
Yeah. Tell us about
What
it.
is the cuisine? What is the cuisine?
Well, it's it's Russian, because that's where Mennonites come from.
Okay.
But so there's a lot of, it's because they're really agricultural and agricultural based culture. They would make foods with lots of fats and carbs and stuff, so that you'd have a 4,500 calorie diet for breakfast, until your lunch, where you get another 4,500.
Yeah, but they go out in the
calorie
field and
break.
work all day and work
Exactly.
it off.
Yeah. You had the feel for it.
Exactly. And they had big families.
Dread-
And, so.
You don't have an accent. You don't have an accent, except for like when you're saying something like boot when you mean boat, right? But when you say carbs, you go straight into the pirate mode. Like you've been saying carbs, and then all the other stuff that's in foods. It's like, yo, there's something there. Larry, what's up?
To answer your question about why they haven't caught on, well, to start a restaurant or a fast food place, you'd need technology, and you couldn't advertise. That's technology. They're screwed from the beginning.
That's right. They just sell them from a black Model T Ford.
Yeah. The weirdest thing is, if you're from a religious perspective, outside the religious perspective, it seems like it's a point of privilege of authority, telling people not to get better so that they can stay on top. It seems to be a system that's in place to say, hey, everybody stay the same, but keep working so that me at the top gets stuff. And I'm talking to God, because that's my job. My job is I sell false hope. Everybody else does actual work. And I get 10% of everyone's paycheck. What's that system?
My favorite saying these days is, that's pretty handy for the preacher. Because everything feeds back to the preacher, all the money, the goods, the favors, everything in that power structure.
Right. And the scary thing is, you actually have a position where you're in that pew, or if you're in that mega church and everyone's putting their hands out like they were in John Richards' video. And it's like, you can't be the one person to be like, hey, hold on a second. How much does he want? Because that makes you stand out so much that you actually feel worried about, like, oh, all these people, they might turn against me. And so I'm just going to go with the flow.
And they have in the past.
Yep. It's its own self-fulfilling prophecy once you set it up.
It's peer pressure. It's very dangerous.
Boom.
Religion is full of violence against the non-believer.
But
It's full of violence. Oh, go for it, John.
You're right. There's a big connection between not wanting change and being religious. Religious and conservative go together.
Right.
Yes,
and it just feels, this isn't to dig on religion, but it's like, it's designed knowing very well all the perfect tendencies of the human psyche and taking advantage of them towards the interest of essentially profit and power for a very few people. And whether that is, you give me money, or you give me your time, or you tell me your secrets, in closed rooms, and now I know that about you, and I'm making you less likely to leave my situation or my congregation, and keeping that tie. So when you have kids, they're going to be my kids, or at least their minds will be, and then their kids will be my kids. It's like when a cable guy comes to your house and gives you his little box. He's like, this is our box. It's like, okay. And when I don't pay for cable anymore, you'll come and take it back, right? No. You have to go to the store and drop it off at the store, but you can only do it at the end of the year because you signed a year contract. It's like, this makes no sense. Don't give me that thing. I'm just going to use my thing. It's like, you can't use anyone else's thing. We're the cable company. We might come today. We might come next week. Who knows? We're a monopoly. It's terrible.
They're losing power, though.
I hope so. Get rid of them.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I mean, when you were talking about the leaders of religions knowing full well that they're taking advantage of the human psyche, I think it's actually more responsive than that because people have a tendency to want to identify specialists. You know what I mean? So, you know, people get good at things by practice. And so we naturally sort of seek those people out that can do things better than we can. And that's not limited to plumbing and electrician and carpentry. It's also somebody that's well-versed in philosophy or somebody that's well-versed in religion. You know, we tend to gravitate towards people we identify as being better at things than we are. And so I think it's a responsive thing. It's not just people know that they can take advantage of somebody's tendency towards religion. It's the other way around as well, I think.
Yeah, it's not entirely religion's fault. There is a culpability that comes with you need to know better. You need to know better. Like, the onus is on you to educate yourself.
And again, it always falls back to critical thinking and skepticism.
Yeah.
Because if you're not geared, or if you're not, if you don't train yourself in those skills of skepticism, critical thinking, then you will be tending to be a little more gullible, or seeking outside of yourself for the answers as opposed to reflecting.
Going back to the idea of like religion putting itself in a position to make up everything that human psyche finds desirable. It's like whenever you see Jesus on a cross, at least in like the Catholic, recently Protestant churches, he's always got like a perfectly cut six-pack. That beard is like perfectly cropped, despite the fact that he spent like weeks in prison before he was put up. It's like perfectly shaved. It's really, really great. Right, nice and flex, good pecs. There's like good diameter. Like everything's like well lit. And I'm like, what if Jesus comes back and he's wearing glasses and he has a little booger on his t-shirt and he's like, you know, trying to get Wi-Fi access somewhere. It's just like, hey guys, I'm Jesus. I'm coming back. Can you help? Can I get some access? Like, that could be reality, and people wouldn't follow it because it doesn't fit the vision. It doesn't fit the message, right? Like, I feel like Christianity is solely done. Dread Pirate, what's up? Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you feel me on this?
For sure.
Okay.
You guys have heard of Bart Ehrman?
No.
Yes.
Oh, wow. He's a great historian, and specializes on Christianity,
early Christian writings.
Yeah. So anyway, I paid $20 to sit in on a podcast he did. Did Jesus think of himself as God? And he went through, the historical documents, like the testaments or the Gospels, and sort of dating them and then discerning what were the common themes in them, and whether or not in any of the Gospels Jesus is said to have thought of himself as God. And that like we were talking about here, that religion, it's like an evolution, that initially in the first Gospels that were written, he didn't call himself God. And even Paul in the Acts and Corinthians and all that kind of stuff, he never says Jesus thought of himself as God. And it's not until John, the Gospel according to John, that it's really well defined that people wanted him to be said to have called himself God. So it's an evolution for sure.
Bart Ehrman is really good. He's done there's a YouTube of him deconstructing the Gospels as a reliable source of information.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff.
You said something a minute ago, Dred, about we like to think we know best, and that's a tendency. But of course, if you take that to extreme, it becomes what's known as the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Where
Yes,
you're too stupid to know you're stupid.
yes,
Right.
I've actually had
and
a
too
professor-
smart to realize that you're smart.
Yeah, I've actually had a professor tell me that once, and I was offended as I was. It was true, and it wasn't until I realized it was true that I got better at the chemistry that I was trying to understand. Like, you don't know enough to know why you don't know this. I'm like, how offensive, but he was right. And I did the work, and now I have a better understanding, and now I realize how big of a world, chemistry is.
Right.
And that when people are very confident, that could be a very dangerous thing, because there's always probabilities in play.
Yeah. There's another saying that runs in tandem with that, is that the more I know, the more I realize how little I know.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a good thing to know things. Good thing to know how to know things. That's my ending statement. Dread Pirate, where can we find you at?
You can find me on YouTube at my channel, Mind Pirate, MINDPYRATE. I live stream this on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So come to my channel. I need 2 more subscribers.
You're one Reddit post away on some subreddit just to get it. Just do it already.
Well, I have my green screen ordered, and I'm going to actually have my studio downstairs, and I'm going to start producing some additional content. So there.
Does the wife know that you have a green screen coming, or she's like, I thought you said you're ordering shoes. Our family needs shoes. What's this thing? It's green. You can't even put movies on it.
It's a big green shoe.
It's a sale for a ship. Oh, okay. Well, that's totally fine. We've made an agreement that pirate things are okay. John Richards, where can we find your stuff at?
Well, on the subject of pirate things, if I can sort of diverge a little bit there, the reason that we think they speak with this "ahar" stuff is because...
Oh, that was great. That was the first normal R I've ever heard you say. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
This all harks back to Robert Newton, who was a Cornish actor who played a pirate in the first film.
Yeah, okay.
First pirate film, yeah. And he used the accent that came from his area.
Yes,
and
exactly.
They caught on. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
It
That's
was
wonderful.
the standard.
Anyway,
so there's a place that actually talks like that? Sorry for interrupting, but I need to know.
Yes, there is.
That's fair. Okay, we need to talk about this after the show.
It's the West Country. Yeah. So I can be found on my usual haunt, Freethought Productions, which I have done a couple of shows that I'm really proud of yesterday. One is, of course, my regular Global Atheist News.
Wonderful show.
Thank you. And the other one is Freethought Hour. And I have a couple of Americans guesting with me, one from the East Coast and one from the West Coast. It's really, they're really good guests.
Very
wonderful. Cool. Yeah. George Brown, anything you'd recommend we try to get better at before next week? What's something that I should try to get better at before next week?
I have no idea.
What about remembering things? We'll work on memory. How about that?
I can't remember anything.
Can't remember.
Fair enough. Larry,
mnemonics. Work on mnemonics.
Speaking of remembering things, I can't remember what atheism's all about. What can I do?
I have a book for that.
Hey, all my transitions are on point today. Just want to say, you can cut in and try to steal the credit if you want to, but I got every transition on.
You did. You nailed it.
This whole episode, I'm taking that from me. Larry, what's up?
Segue master.
Yes. My book is called Atheism, What's It All About? It's available on Amazon. It's also available on in paperback or text, just to download it on your iPhone. Anyway, you can find my YouTube channel by searching for Doubter5 or Larry Rhodes. Thanks for joining us on the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. Remember, you can find this show on Apple iTunes, Pocket Casts, Amazon, or podcast everywhere. Just search for the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. My own content is on digitalfreethought.com. You can go there and be sure to click on the blog button for radio show archives, atheist songs, and many articles on the subject. If you have any questions for the show, send them to askanatheist@knoxvilleatheists.org or you can send them to letschatse@gmail.com, and we'll answer them on future shows. If you're having trouble leaving religious beliefs behind, you can get help at recoveringfromreligion.org. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Remember, everybody is going to somebody else's hell. The time to worry about it is when they prove that heavens and hells and souls are real. Until then, don't sweat it. And we'll see you next week. Enjoy your life. See you. Bye. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye.